Hello, welcome to Standard Voice Television Global News. Today, 25th June 2026, equivalent to Islamic calendar, 10th Muharram 1448 after Hijrah. The headlines. President Tinubu advocates African control of global critical raw minerals value chain. Senate passes state police bill amid persistent security challenges. Troops of Operation Fansanyama repel kidnapping, kills cause of terrorists in Sokoto. And an international saying World Health Organization assures global Ebola risks remains low. And on sports updates, National Sports Commission sets 2030 World Cup target for coach Eric Chile. This and more will be coming to you in the bulletin. Stand by. African countries have been urged to transform their vast natural resource endowments into raw economic power, not to remain a supplier of raw minerals while others reap the benefits of industrialization and value addition. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu made the call at the opening of the 2026 African Natural Resources and Energy Investment Summit in Abuja, with the theme, One Africa, One Resource Vision. Tinubu, who was represented by the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, said Africa's future prosperity depends on its ability to process its mineral locally, build industrial capacity, and create value across the supply chain. He argued that Africa must move beyond fragmented approaches to development and embrace a unified vision that prioritizes beneficiation, manufacturing, and industrial growth. Also from the legislative arm, Chairman of the Senate Committee on Solid Minerals Development, Ekong Sampson, and his lower chamber counterpart, Jonathan Gaza, underscored the need to secure mineral assets and ensure that Africa's natural wealth translates into tangible benefits for its people. The leadership crisis in the People's Democratic Party (PDP) deepened on Wednesday as two rival factions separately presented certificates of return and nomination documents to their candidates for the 2027 general elections. It was gathered that each of the factions insisted that it was the party's legitimate leadership and expressed confidence that the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) would recognize its nominees. Ditani Muturaki San led Interim National Working Committee, and the faction led by Federal Capital Territory Minister Nyesom Wike held parallel events in Abuja, where they unveiled candidates and rallied supporters ahead of the next general elections. At the PDP's 109th National Executive Committee meeting at Wadata Plaza, Wike urged party members to stop lamenting the loss of power and instead mobilize to reclaim its true hard work and organization. Meanwhile, at a separate stakeholders meeting in Abuja, the Tani Muturaki-led faction declared that it had produced candidates for all elective offices and would contest every constituency in the 2027 polls. However, the parallel issuance of certificates by the rival camps underscore the PDP's lingering leadership disputes and sets the stage for a fresh contest over legitimacy as the party prepares to submit its candidates for the 2027 general elections. Stalwarts of the opposition, African Democratic Congress, ADC Atiku Abubakar, has knocked President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's led government over recent statements, suggesting that media reports were amplifying perceptions of the insecurity and economic hardship. His senior special assistant in public communication, Frank Shoaibu, in a statement argued that Nigerians do not need journalists or media reports to understand the realities of hunger, inflation, and insecurity confronting them daily. The former vice president described attempts to blame the media for highlighting Nigeria's challenges as a sign of a government increasingly disconnected from the realities facing ordinary citizens. He stressed that Nigerians were grappling with rising food prices, shrinking purchasing power, unemployment, and worsening living conditions. The ADC presidential candidate for 2027 election also took issue with comments from government officials regarding insecurity, insisting that the country's security challenges were evident to citizens without media interpretation. The federal government has unveiled the National Poverty Intelligence Lab, a data-driven platform designed to strengthen the targeting, monitoring, and evaluation of poverty reduction programs as it seeks to address the plight of an estimated 140 million Nigerians living below the poverty line. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Bernard Joro, who disclosed this at the opening of a 3-day workshop on the operationalization of the lab in Abuja, said the country could no longer rely on assumptions and fragmented interventions in tackling poverty. He also emphasized that the initiative is expected to serve as the central intelligence and evidence-gathering hub for the government's anti-poverty interventions. Earlier, the country representative of Innovation for Poverty Action, Fumi Ayeni, said the partnership with the ministry would help policymakers better understand the needs of poor and vulnerable populations while reducing duplication in intervention programs. She also noted that the workshop would provide stakeholders with an opportunity to develop strategies for designing and implementing more impactful poverty reduction initiatives. The Senate on Wednesday passed the landmark Constitution Alteration Bill seeking to establish state police, making a major step in decades-long debate over decentralizing the country's policing structure to address worsening insecurity. The passage followed a rigorous clause-by-clause consideration of the bill and came after more than 2/3 of senators voted in support through a manual voting process conducted on the floor of the chamber. Senate President Godswill Akpabio announced the passage of the legislation after lawmakers backed the proposal during plenary. The upper chamber also approved the bill after considering the reports of the Senate Committee on the Review of the Constitution, presented by the Deputy Senate President and Committee Chairman Barrow Jibrin. The bill further outlines the operational relationship between governors and state police commands. The news is coming to you on Standard Voice Television Global News. And still to come in the news, troops of Operation Fansanyama repel kidnapping, kill scores of terrorists in Sokoto. And on international scene, World Health Organization assures global Ebola risks remain low. And on sports updates, National Sports Commission sets 2030 World Cup target for coach Eric Chile. This and more will come to you after this break.
Imagine say television, movies, news and entertainment dey your pocket, just like that. Welcome to Free TV app. Now the #1 digital TV app for Nigeria. Free TV app get over 100 live TV channels, breaking news, sports, Nollywood movies, small pikin shows and plenty more inside one app. No decoder wahala, no plenty setup. Just download, open, begin the watch. To get the app, just search Free TV for Google Play Store or Free TV NG for Apple App Store, or scan the QR code for your screen. Registration will take you seconds. You fit use phone number, email, WhatsApp, Google or Apple ID. OTP even dey, so make your account dey safe. For inside the app, the live TV section get over 100 licensed channels with program guide, pause, rewind and catch up. Free TV no be ordinary app. Na digital revolution. Download Free TV today.
Welcome back, and now the news continues. Troops of Operation Pansanyama have repelled terrorist attack and killed scores of bandits in Takas Aba, a border town in Sabon Birni local government area of Sokoto State. The development is coming as the state government reassured residents of its willingness to confront renewed security threats linked to notorious bandit leader Bello Turji. The credible security source disclosed that the incident occurred on Monday when heavily armed bandits invaded the community in an attempt to abduct residents. Adding, the troops quickly responded to the attack and engaged the assailants in a fire-gun battle, forcing them to retreat. It was gathered that security operatives recovered 2 motorcycles, magazines, and assorted ammunition abandoned by the fleeing attackers. Special Advisor to the Governor on Security Matters, Ahmed Usman, while speaking with journalists, said the government was closely monitoring developments and working with security agencies to ensure that criminal elements do not destabilize the state. He cautioned residents against fear-inducing propaganda circulated by criminal groups, insisting that security forces remain capable of confronting emerging threats. A Kaduna High Court on Wednesday adjourned until July 1, 2026 for ruling on the bail application filed by Nasir El-Rufai and his co-defendant, Jimmy Lawal, in an alleged corruption case instituted by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. The former Kaduna State Governor, who appeared before two separate courts in Kaduna, is facing charges relating to alleged abuse of office, financial impropriety, and money laundering. At the Federal High Court, presided over by Justice Hawa Urufai Lawal, a Buhari former special advisor, and several corporate entities were arraigned on an amended 11-count charge. El-Rufai pleaded not guilty to count 1, while Lawal pleaded not guilty to count 6, 7, and 8. In all, the former governor, Lawal, and 5 corporate entities are standing trial as defendants in the matter. During Wednesday's proceedings, counsel for El-Rufai and the second defendants informed the court of pending bail application. The federal government, the African Development Bank, and UN Women have inaugurated the Nigeria Gender Profile and Roadmap to Equality 2030 to address gender disparities. The Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Iman Suleiman Ibrahim, who made this known, said the document provides an evidence-based assessment of gender equality and a framework for achieving national targets by 2030. She said the profile serves two purposes: presenting an honest picture of the current states of gender equality in Nigeria and outlining practical steps towards achieving national commitments. The minister also described gender equality as a strategic investment in national development, emphasizing that advancing equal opportunities for women and girls would strengthen families, communities, and the economy. Earlier, Acting Vice President, Regional Development Integration and Business Delivery, and Director General for Nigeria African Development Bank Group, Abdul Kamara, said persistent inequalities in education, finance, employment, and leadership continued to constrain inclusive growth and sustainable development, limiting the country's ability to maximize its economic potential. The World Health Organization, WHO, says Ebola global risks remain low from a deadly outbreak centered in the Democratic Republic of Congo. WHO Chief Tedros Adhanom, after a case was confirmed in France, warned against overreaction to the case detected in France. He added that there is no need for panic and underlined that though the case served as a reminder of the risks faced by frontline responders. France on Wednesday announced its first confirmed case of Ebola identified on its territory, a doctor who had flown back from Congo, which is fighting a major outbreak. The French Health Ministry said the patient boarded a commercial flight from Kinshasa and was almost asymptomatic except for headaches. The case is the first of the deadly hemorrhagic fever identified outside the African continent during the current outbreak, which has also affected Uganda. The Nigeria Football Federation, NFF, has been urged to intensify its rebuilding efforts ahead of the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations AFCON and the 2030 FIFA World Cup after confirming the Super Eagles. Coach Eric Chelle will remain in charge of the national team. Chairman of the National Sport Commission, Shehu Diko, made the call during a meeting between officials of the NSC and the NFF in Abuja, where discussions centered on the future of the national teams following Nigeria's failure to qualify for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The Super Eagles are not part of the tournament after suffering a penalty shootout defeat to Congo in the final round of the African playoffs. marking the second consecutive World Cup of the country has failed to reach. Although Chile was appointed during the qualification campaign in March 2025, the coach revitalized the team, recording 4 wins and 2 draws to guide Nigeria into the playoffs before their qualification hopes were eventually dashed. Finally, on the news, the recap of the top stories again. President Tinubu advocates African control of global critical raw minerals value chain. Senate passes state police bill amid persistent security challenges. Troops of Operation Fansanyama repel kidnapping, kills scores of terrorists in Sokoto. And an international saying World Health Organization assures global Ebola risks remains low. And on sports updates, National Sports Commission sets 2030 World Cup target for coach Eric Chile. On behalf of the news editor Ilya Ademo Auta and the production crew, I am Rahama Ibrahim Josara saying bye for now.